Okay, I'm with Frank Solomon, and he's been researching some things that I really enjoy hearing about, researching and studying myself, and that's out of Place Archaeology.
Yes.
And with that, Frank, man, tell me what you've been researching, figuring out for this stuff that's out of place that mainstream academia doesn't acknowledge.
Right. They won't necessarily acknowledge it, but I believe they know about it. And, there's a lot of history in this country that we're not privy to and learning in school. It's just how it is. Where there's certain things about, they just want to, of course, say that, Columbus discovered the New World. There were cultures in this land tens of thousands of years ago. I've done research on this for years since I was young. It's just been a great interest of my own. I just want to understand. I just want to know the real history, where we came from, who was here, what are these cultures? And yourself, Terry, you've traveled and seen these signs and symbols all over the place. And I want to end up taking you to some of my sites and showing you some amazing stuff.
We'll have to do a mutual adventure and check each other's stuff out.
Yeah, buddy. Let's do that, man. yeah. I'm with you.
Okay.
I've been fortunate to have gained some knowledge through some other individuals that spent their life. For instance, Roger, some others in history, Mr. William Mac McCarty, that gave me knowledge that I didn't ask for. I was very young.
McCarty, did he have to deal with the Decalogue Stone, or is that somebody else?
Different guy. Old Bill. And old Bill gave me some knowledge that, like I said, I did not ask for, and I was given. He's taken me to sites today that I own the mining claims to that have some very, very ancient signs and symbols. Conquistadors were there. Indians left their signs and symbols there. And there are some specific signs and symbols there that I've sent to some of the top experts in the world, and they can't even identify them. They don't know what they are. And I'm like, wow. So in the Orem Mountains alone, there exist a series of cache sites that's believed to be of ancient origin, and there were Phoenician signs and symbols left behind. There are symbols by the Knights Templar. The Templars found some secrets in north of the Holy Land in Phoenicia. Today we know this is modern day Lebanon. They took this knowledge and ended up, of all places, in New Mexico. Okay, when the conquistadores were there, and they were somewhere in the region of Las Cruces and that region, and they were talking to the Indians. They said, we were trying to find the 7 cities of gold. Coronado was trying to find all these 7 cities that were so amazing to him, and in their the lie that was really perpetuated to them by, I believe, by the Padres themselves. There were 7 cities that were sacred to the Jesuit priests that were in South America. And these little towns were mined for great quantities of gold. And they, I believe, perpetuated a lie to the conquistadors, Coronado and these guys. They went up through the New World looking for the 7 cities, and the Indians told them, yeah, sure, we know where this is. You want to go 600 leagues this way, and then 500 leagues that way, then 1,500 leagues, then turn right, and then you want to go north again 200 leagues, and you're close, but then you got to go 300 leagues this way. And so they never found it.
In other words, get out of our area, leave us alone.
Why the Indians did this at this specific place is there were never really 7 cities of gold. There were only 7 caverns. These caverns are major caches of ancient gold. What one individual is saying, these were left by an ancient culture thousands of years ago. About 3,000 years ago, the Phoenicians found out about this gold. Supposedly, they brought King Solomon's men with them to New Mexico, as we know it today. There are multiple cache sites involved. They brought back a lot of gold to King Solomon, supposedly. We're trying to verify a lot of this as we go, but the signs and symbols are there. there left behind, and I have the directions and knowledge to where they're located, and this is very near to some major cache sites that the Templar Knights eventually discovered. They left their signs and symbols. I've got pictures of them. I want to share some stuff with you as well, Terry. Some knowledge on the pictures that I've taken, and we can go back to a lot of these sites. I need some people that want to be part of my own team that can help document some of these things, like yourself. Can go and prove some of this stuff. So I know it's a big fascination for yourself, but there are so many things out there. But like for me and Terry, we're out there trying to prove it. We want to make sure that these things are genuine. I have a location near one of these cache sites where King Solomon's strike mark is actually carved into the rock wall. Yeah, I know right where it is. I want to go see it, take pictures of it. The Horse of God, that was a Templar's logo. I mean, you go into Templar Church in England, and up top is a little statue with a horse and two riders on it. It was in the Da Vinci Code, okay, the movie Da Vinci Code. Now, there is a carving of the Horse of God with a horse and two riders on it, which is the Templar logo, carved on a rock wall next to other Templar signs in New Mexico.
Wow.
Hello? I mean, what happened? The Templars ended up following the directions in the documents they found. These navigation charts were translated. They went there. They were following ancient Tanit icons that were, Tanit was a fertility goddess that was worshipped by the Phoenicians. In ancient pagan history, Tanit was married to Molech, which was a Phoenician god as well. Okay, so why would some ancient Phoenician goddess be carved all up along the Rio Grande, guiding you to multiple locations, and carved all over the Oregon Mountains and other places? Well, what are they doing there? Why are they there? I mean, were they really at these cache sites? Did the Phoenicians really bring all this gold to King Solomon? I mean, could New Mexico really be the real land of Ophir, like some believe, like myself and others believe that may be the case? Like I said, there's further study that needs to take place, but with the multiple locations we have that I've been given, this knowledge is there for us to study, and if it's possible that we can prove it, why not? Share it with the world. Rewrite the books, man. Teach it in grade school. I mean, you really have to prove a lot of this first. I'm not involved in what you call mainstream archaeology, so I don't. I care about my reputation. Yeah. I don't want to come out as some crackpot, because I deal in facts, man. Right. I deal in 100% facts. I want to prove everything that I'm going after. If I can't prove it, and if it's half, 50-50 or wishy-washy, I don't mess with it, man. Because like you said, there's a lot of fake stuff too, and I've seen it. Yeah. I've seen it, but I mean, if you can really, truly prove without a shadow of doubt that something happened, why not share it with the world? Why not? Over the next year, boy, I have some adventures ahead, man. Maybe you can take part in with me, Terry. And I have some. I'm very fortunate to be involved with some amazing people. I have family involved with me. My sister's involved with me. I have some other family members. It's just a great blessing in life when you can enjoy something that you do in life, but make money at it. And that's what I've always strived to be able to accomplish in mining and historical discoveries. And I've done it professionally and as a hobby for many years. But yeah, I'm able to have my own exploration company now, and I have people that work for me that are doing things Monday through Friday, and I work in insurance during the week, and I enjoy that as well. You can always go on dynamic1.com and reach me through my company as well. And we're licensed in most U.S. states, and we help people that truly want to take the burden off their back for their final expenses, and then protecting themselves through life insurance. And I enjoy helping people there every day. We try to help as many people as we can. But I also enjoy very much being outdoors and living the life of an adventurer, man. I've been very fortunate to have learned from others who were greater men than myself, and taken that knowledge and tried to enhance it over the years and learn more and more. Louis Matesha alone, imagine, he had a big fascination with understanding the past as well. And that's why he was always so curious to work with me and the things I was given. I have another project in the Yucatan Peninsula to seek out and recover one of the 3 lost Atlantean libraries. Imagine if you can.
That interests me.
Imagine if that could be done. You can go with us. I'll take you. You can document it. There's an ancient. I want to
ask you something.
Okay.
Sorry to be interrupting
okay.
you, but so on another video you talked about Victoria Peak.
Yes.
Does that tie in with some of the ancient stuff?
Yes, it does.
Is that just Jesuit stuff plus what was put there by the natives? Or
no? When Doc Noss brought these gold bars out of that cavern, they were blackened, and he thought they were pig iron bars, right?
Yep.
Well, when he dropped one on the ground and Ova saw it shining on the other side, some of that manganese, flecked off. They knew it was gold. Said, man, there were a lot of them in there. They had to pry those apart with a crowbar. Now, the manganese, the other minerals that leached out of those bars for eons, that happened over thousands of years.
So you think these gold bars were ancient? It's not just Spanish. These are ancient.
Yeah, Victoria Peak ties into one of my own projects that I can't talk about. And if I told you, you'd understand.
So I have some things going on with Victoria Peak that I can't talk about.
I understand.
We'll talk about it off camera.
We will. Up top of Victoria Peak, on one of the faces of one of the highest little parts of Victoria Peak, is a pretty large Templar cross that's carved on it. A lot of people don't know about that.
Really?
I've got a picture of it. And at one time, there was a large Tanit or Tanit icon that was constructed, which it looks like a chess piece. Okay, this was a large constructed Tanit or Tanit monument that was on Victoria Peak at one time. It's been taken apart. One of my acquaintances years and years ago was on top of Victoria Peak and noticed this icon. He had been aware of them for eons, and his family knew about them. They had knowledge that was shared with them down from the 1300s that was in their family, and he's agreed to have me share this knowledge, and it's in my book. I love sharing that with people. The book is entitled True Adventure: the adventures, the amazing adventures of myself and the Templars, the Phoenicians, and the conquistadors in New Mexico, by Frank Salmon. And you'll be able to see this on Amazon very soon. I'll give you the book cover so you can put it on. Okay. Yeah, so people can see it. And it's finishing editing right now and about to be published. It took me 1.5 years to put this book together. And you just never know when it's your time, Terry. I mean, with this COVID thing, and
I just interviewed a guy today, and they just told him here a week ago that he's terminal, and he's got 3 days to a couple of weeks to live.
That's so sad.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, you never know when it's your time. So do the best you can to be remembered for doing something good for people and helping others. While you can. It's not all about us. Sometimes there's too much greed in this world, and people are so self-centered, and don't really, they don't either have God in their life, or they just are negative or whatever. And you know, they keep things to themselves. Share your knowledge with other people. You know, I have too many people that want to charge $1 just to hear your knowledge. You know, that's too bad. You know, I think if knowledge could be shared to better mankind, this would be such a beautiful place. You know, don't you agree?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you know, I love being able to share my own knowledge with others. You know, if people need help out there in any way involved in their mining projects, or let's say that you have a property where you have some rare signs and symbols on, you need a little better understanding. Terry is not aware, I do work with some top linguists and archaeologists in the world that can help, you know, identify some of these things. And there's people that study signs and symbols for a living, and you know, maybe we can help. You know, we don't even have to tell us where they're at. You know, we just want to know what's out there and be able to get a better understanding. You know, the Decalogue Stone. You know, if that's real, and it was 3,000 years ago, the ancient Hebrew were on Hidden Mountain, southwest of Albuquerque, and they wrote that 10 Commandments on the wall. I mean, imagine one of the 12 tribes came through there. You know, the Egyptian unks I've seen there, and you know, I was shown.
There's Egyptians unks
there are several. People don't even know.
I didn't know.
I was shown some hidden symbols that were covered with a flat rock, and we were shown these carvings were far out, man. And what the guy was telling me, that they were carved by the ancient Magi people that were in northern Africa, and they came there 10,000 years ago and carved those signs and symbols. I mean, really, there were so many cultures here. The Vikings were in the New World. There was a Viking ship years back uncovered on the Mississippi River, you know. And so there's histories that we don't know. You know, all the time things are coming to light as far as certain histories and things. We're discovering new lost treasures and historical things and signs and symbols. And the Ogham writing alone, you know about the Ogham writing? Yeah. Well, there's Ogham found in New Mexico, in the Caballo Mountains, and in New Mexico and other places there all over, Colorado, and I mean all over the country. You know, this is ancient Celtic signs and symbols, and you know, what are they doing here? You know, these things are old. These symbols, signs and symbols are very old, and why are they here? That's just what's always you know, perplexed myself, is understanding, when were these people here, man? Why were they here? I just want to understand, like yourself, you know.
Yeah. Me and you. We just want to know why.
Man, we just want to know. And you know, I've been fortunate to have been given a multitude of knowledge that I'm you know, documenting multiple sites and symbols right now. And you know, you could join me on a couple adventures down the road here, man, very soon. Very soon we're going to be there. So
cool.
Yeah. You know, if people out there, you know, you have different things like that on your properties, you know, signs and symbols, are things you just don't understand, markings on the rock, document them, man. Send them to us. We'll help you. You know, we all just want to understand, you know, our past and our history. As we go, you know, we're going to learn more and more as we go, and the knowledge I've acquired myself, I'm sharing in my book right now, which is amazing in itself, to be able to share this knowledge, you know, with people. You know, I don't care if I made a dime on it. I really don't. You know, I'm going to make my money either way, one way or the other, in insurance or finding gold or something or another, you know. But yeah, just having real knowledge to carry on to a future generation, you know, to be able to share that with them alone and give them, you know, we do have a lot of further study to do. And, you know, the locations they're out there. We're going to document them as we go and try to prove some of this knowledge. I mean, if King Solomon's men, Templar Knights, were really here, we're going to prove it. I have no doubt we'll prove it, or we won't.
So I've heard that other people think that this is where King Solomon sent his men to get the gold and the treasures.
Possibly
and all
Utah.
That. So
as well.
You know, who you know, I don't know exactly where, but what proof have you came up with, other than seeing in the Oregon Mountains the Templar signs and symbols, and you know, there's the theory that the Templars were at Oak Island. There's a theory that, you know, what
I believe that Oak Island is very possibly Templar related. It could be even a more ancient treasure there. There's been stuff recently found on Oak Island that just boggles the mind, you know, the artifacts they find there. But there were, from what I gather, there were Templar signs and symbols found on the island itself, and artifacts. So, I mean, very possible, very possible. They were all over the New World. People don't understand this or know this. You know, if the people that have shared the knowledge they have with me is correct, and it goes beyond the signs and symbols that I've seen, and these are major cache sites that Solomon's men found, we're going to find them. We're going to excavate them as well, possibly, and take it from there. You know, all we can do is try our best to prove it, and if that happens, and we can, that's awesome. You know, it's great.
So I know that, you know, I contacted Scott Walters, you know, way before he did his show America on Earth, because I heard that he could date, had a way of figuring out how to date carvings on rocks, you know, which that's about impossible to do, but he had a way to figure it out. So I contacted him and showed him pictures of, you know, what I've been tracking down, the mystery glyphs, and he said, man, that's 100%, them are Knights Templars. And then we was going to get together, and then I got busy, he started his show.
I've talked to Scott on the phone.
And so we never got together, but, you know, he's documenting things over here in this country and believes 100% that the Knights Templars was here.
Yeah, so we need more people like that have that kind of drive to prove history and for us to understand what's out there. Scott's doing a great job doing that. I've talked to him over the phone before.
I have to.
And told him some about my own work, and they've not had a chance to get with him yet. He tried contacting one of my predecessors, Roger, that has given me a bunch of knowledge, and they never got together. Roger is very cagey about getting involved with different people, and he's sharing his knowledge with me, because me and Roger are a lot alike. I have some major projects historically that he just fell in love with, you know, the history involved in my work, and he started sharing things with me, you know, that he didn't share with anybody else, and it just you know. So talking about Roger, he had tragedies in his life. And talking about, you know, in another video you talked about choosing the right partners and whatnot. He had his family murdered over this stuff. Exactly. And his father was known as the mailman. He had worked in the CIA at one time. He was a professional treasure hunter, his daddy. And they were given knowledge back from the 1300s when they were supposedly related to a Templar knight named Racion. His tomb was concealed in the Oregon Mountains in New Mexico. He has a vast knowledge of information that he started sharing on a lot of the treasure chat rooms and boards. And you know what? People were scoffing at him and says, man, I mean, really, dude? The Templars, the Phoenicians were in New Mexico and all that? I mean, where's the proof? He said, look, man, I'm not asking for no money from you people. I don't care if you believe me or not. I'm trying to share something that's been in my family since the 1300s, right? He said, if you don't believe me, then why don't you come down to Las Cruces where I live and look me in the eye and call me a liar? And there were 3 men who took up that challenge, and they came to Las Cruces to meet him. He took them in the mountains and showed them all these signs and symbols. They came back and said, man, this guy is legit. And we saw it all. We saw the Templar signs. There's Phoenician signs. We couldn't read them, but they were supposedly Phoenician. They saw all of it. And they came back and said, Roger's he was the real deal, man. We believe the guy, because he took us and showed us. You know, that's like I can tell you all about how to prospect for gold, right? But if I take you there and show you how to read a river, man, and how to pan for gold, use a sleuth box, and where to find the gold, is that you're not going to have too much luck on your own going and doing that unless I'm able to go and show you. And I will do that with you, Terry.
Well, Thank you.
I will do
But-
that.
But what that does is that speeds up your learning process, because you're learning from somebody who's already gone through the trials, the errors.
Yeah, and I believe, Roger, that a lot of that information is in my book, and it'll be out very soon. Our next video possibly will have all the detailed information about how you can find that book on Amazon and read about the history, what I believe is some true history that hasn't been shared with mankind. We're in the process of proving that history, and as we go, hopefully we will. I always had an open mind, about things. People close off their mind too easily, and they're not open enough for knowledge and history that's out there. I mean, new cultures and history is found every day by archaeologists all over the world, and we should be more open-minded to learning this history. And
the problem is if it doesn't fit the narrative, it doesn't get recorded by the mainstream archaeologists, academia. It doesn't get recorded because it doesn't fit, doesn't fit their perception of what history is.
Right. And God bless them. They're out there trying to do their thing, but I just feel strongly about sharing real history with others. If you can really discover and understand something, why not share it? We're always trying to prove things. We're always trying to understand a deeper sense of the history of this country. And there were cultures, tens of thousands of years ago here. I've seen the signs, the symbols, the artifacts they've left behind. I've seen it. So I believe, but people out there, they don't understand a lot of what we're talking about right now. But a lot of this is public knowledge. You go read a book, man. Go to the library. People don't go to the library anymore to read. You're not going to find everything on the internet. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet.
But with that said, you know what?
Yes, sir.
The internet makes the research a heck of a lot easier.
It does, doesn't it?
I can remember going to the library, doing interlibrary loans, and you could only borrow 3 things at a time.
You got to transport a book from California, and they'll send it.
You had to wait for it to come.
The interlibrary exchange.
Yeah,
and
I remember doing all that, going to the universities and looking up on microfiche. Yeah. I remember doing all that.
Oh, I read Percy Fawcett's book, and his son that wrote about his dad, hunting for the ancient cultures in South America, man. And he was one of the first cartographers that went out and found the land surveys, and he found lost cities and all that stuff.
That's the one where they found that softening stuff that would soften the stones. That plant.
That was a different.
Fawcett.
Yeah, it could have been Fawcett, but they were in Machu Picchu doing a survey and found something buried that was a container.
In a jar.
Yep, and then it melted the rock.
Yeah,
and it was like, wow. And so we don't know it all. But Percy Fawcett was a great fascination of mine, and I have a buddy in South America, in Ecuador, named Stan Grist. Look up Stan Grist on the internet.
I know Stan.
Yeah, I've known Stan for 20 plus years, and a couple of our websites came out at the same time years and years ago. And Stan searches for lost cities and does some amazing stuff in South America, and I want to join him to go and hunt some emeralds, because it's one of my favorite stones. And I mean, he's gold mined. He's had some bad health and had to move back into Quito, and he had some heart problems, and so he's closer to Quito now.
Had some bad people come after him.
He's poor guy.
Yeah,
and he's an adventure cat himself.
He
had
Stan used to live here in Utah.
Really? Yeah. And he had a home invasion. And man, they beat him up and everything, and poor guy.
Yeah.
But boy, he's got some stories, and I've always kept in touch with him. He's always wanted to join me on some of my adventures, and I'd love to have him. He's a little beat up, but I still have him. He's a good guy, but he's discovered so much gold and things in there.
Crashed an airplane in the jungles and walked away from it.
Man.
Yeah. He's had some adventures.
Hunted diamonds and lived out in the wilderness hunting diamonds with these old timers, and just amazing guy, man. Really is. There's a lot of people I've always admired, and Stan told me something kind of funny one time. He says, "Well, Frank, we all want to be like you. You go on the real adventures, man." It's like, "Well, come on, join me. Let's go." And I said, "Man, I'm no better than anybody, Stan. Me and you are a lot alike, buddy." But he's done some really cool stuff I'd love to be involved in one day, and maybe so. I have a fascination with South America as well. And
I do too, in the subterranean tunnels of Ecuador. Yeah.
Yes. There's subterranean tunnels here, man, all over under mountain ranges in New Mexico, Utah, all over, and there's great knowledge in some of these tunnels, man, and treasures beyond what we can imagine. And they're the greatest treasures in history, I believe, will produce itself over the next 5 to 10 years. There's pretty amazing history. I've come into some knowledge about an ancient Aztec temple in South America, in Yucatan. It takes a couple of days to get to it by plane and then boat. There's some archaeological work that's been done on this site, but there is a temple on the near the whole complex. It's part of the complex that has a massive amount of airflow coming through a certain part of the rocks. And the archaeologists at the time that were working there, they weren't miners, and they weren't someone like myself that would have the knowledge of making my way into these cracks and opening them up to get down under this temple and find that there's supposedly one of the lost libraries of Atlantis there. I mean, imagine, you can, if it exists.
Right,
I mean, who knows? There's history like this all over the world. There's supposed to be another library under the Great Sphinx. One of the third library is buried underwater in an island that went down. Could have been Atlantis itself, so who knows? New Mexico has, I was reading about New Mexico and Utah and places like the South, all throughout the Southwest. I started when I was 10 years old. And so I was able to later on in life to do further extensive research that put me in the arena of the ancients, man. And there were people here, and I have a pretty good idea of where they came. I've been privy to knowledge of where a lot of these sites are located, and I have exact coordinates of knowledge to be able to get there. So we're going to study some of these sites and try to prove hopefully some amazing lost history that we've never learned about. And as we go, we'll film some of these projects and educate people on what's out there.
Cool.
So I'm very excited about the future right now. Being able to have the excuse me, the funding, the capability.
Funding is huge. The technology is
to
huge.
Have the right technology.
The time is huge. It all plays a part.
I know I've watched videos of you about some dowsing, and I think you've always wanted to understand it a little bit.
I believe there's something to it, but I'm a skeptic that it will get you 100% right there. I think it will get you close, but as close, a couple hundred yards away, or what? And if you're a couple hundred yards off, you just be a couple miles.
Exactly.
You don't know. You don't know.
Exactly.
So I believe it'll get you close, but then I think you take the modern electronic stuff and define it from there.
When I usually go to work a site, the first thing I do is dowse it. There are certain techniques that you can use to pinpoint a location, but there are things you need to know. There's knowledge that a lot of people don't have in relation to using dowsing instruments, pendulums. I got a pendulum right here for pretty much every day of the week, and by using the dowsing rods, the pendulum can be used with a multitude of things, from map dowsing to using the same type of response that you're going to get from a dowsing rod. There are multiple dowsing instruments you can use. They were found, in ancient Egyptian pyramids, and this is just a tool. The metal detector is a tool. The electromagnetic imaging, the system that we use, is a tool. The GPR is a tool. The brain being the most powerful computer on Earth today. It's been proven that the human brain, our mind, is the most powerful computer on this Earth. Okay, and it's moving right now in a response to definitely yes. That's about 100% yes that you can get right there. So it's really just agreeing with me. I'm not moving it. It's the mind. So everything in this earth, every mineral just about in this earth today, we have these minerals in our body. Now, the mind being such an amazing computer, what happens is by focusing on different minerals like water, iron, nickel, you want to find silver, you want to find gold, whatever. If you can train your mind to focus on these minerals and develop a very positive, focused frame of mind, you can find anything. Dowsing is a form of meditation. And so when you can truly master it and find what you're looking for, it's a whole other thing, man. And you'll see me doing it outdoors, and I'll pinpoint things and it'll blow your mind, dude. But I've practiced this for years. I've been dowsing since I was 3 years old.
So I want to tell a map dowsing story. Hold that out again.
Yes, sir.
So I had this guy come to my house, and hold on to it for just a minute.
Yeah.
So this guy come to my house, and he's talking to me, and he wanted to know about these mystery glyphs that I'd found in Provo.
Yeah.
And I told him they were in the mountains east of Provo. Well, he kept on saying Provo Canyon, and I got tired of correcting him, saying no, the mountains east of Provo, and I didn't care if he thought it was in Provo Canyon or not, because I wasn't going to show him where they was.
Right.
You know, wasn't going to show him where they was, so it didn't matter. I didn't care what he thought. So anyway, he left my house thinking these things are in Provo Canyon. When he comes back the next day, and he says, you know them symbols you told me you found that are in the Provo Canyon? I said, Don, I didn't tell you they was in Provo Canyon. I told you they was the mountains east of Provo.
Okay.
He says, that's what I wanted to tell you. They're right here. And he had a map that he'd doused.
Okay.
But he tore it off, the big map, and he handed it to me, and I couldn't tell where that was because it was tore off. You know? So I says, I can't tell where this is at, Don. So he gets the whole map and he puts it together. He was right dead on.
Sure.
He was right dead on. And from him thinking Provo Canyon to a lot of miles away, he was right dead on where they was at.
Right.
So I wanted to see how he did this.
Yeah.
You know, so how did you do this? So what he had a gold nugget that I'd given him, and a vial, and he drilled a hole in the cap and screwed the lid on, put the gold in it, had a string coming through the cap, and had that tied to a pencil, and he'd put it to his head, and he'd go over a map, and he'd ask questions like he was talking to somebody, and he's asking for gold bars, and there's and can we have any, and whatnot. So he starts talking to this like he's talking to a spirit. Now hold your thing up. So he starts making fun of this thing. Yeah. And I ain't kidding you. I watched it. It looked like this thing stayed just like this. Hold on to it. It stayed just like that. The string came out like that. Wow. And bounced.
Crazy.
I'd never seen anything like that. And when it did that, he put it up and he says, I made it mad. And I was watching his hands close because I wanted to see what was doing this. And I don't know how that did that because it pulled out to a V. Yeah. And he didn't do that.
A lot of people
somehow
look at dowsing as a negative thing or evil or a spirit. I mean, it may be a spiritual aspect to it in a way, but I've never had any evil thoughts or anything from dowsing. I've been doing it since I was 3 years old. My grandfather was a dowser. Okay. Yeah. So when I map douse, the map, the better quality the map, the better. And what I will do is I'll keep my dowsing instrument over here, and I'll use a laser. I'll use a little laser to go over different areas, and so what about this area? And I'll talk to it. Say yes, definitely yes. There got to be something. Now I'm looking for gold. I want gold nuggets. I want placer gold. I want to mine some gold, and I'm visualizing gold. And that laser will pinpoint on the map in a certain spot. It'll start freaking. It'll be definitely yes, definitely yes. That's a mark. I'll mark that spot. I want to go there. The better quality of the map, the easier it is. You want to get good quality USGS maps, and that way, you just have more accuracy altogether. Because I mean, you buy a professional map, it's going to allow you to get to better coordinates. They're going to have coordinates on it. You're going to know exactly where you're going, and that's the key. That's part of your research. Like I was saying earlier, you want to be able to research it properly and know exactly where you're going, where you're at. For years, all I did was just gold prospecting. I wanted to hunt down gold. I wanted to find it. I want to follow it to its source, and I mean that can take years just to just to be able to find a gold source, you know, and you follow that little tiny piece of gold up the river until you get several pieces at a time. You got several pieces. Wow, there may be a richer area up higher. Keep following it, man. You're going to get 10 pieces in there. You're going to start finding a bunch of gold. When you get past that, you don't find nothing, you better start tracking up the mountain, because that's where it came from. You know, I've done it. I've been there and done it and found gold that way. When we used to dredge a river, we would be able to use dowsing rods and instruments to find out where a pay streak began. And we would dredge down to 8 feet down to bedrock and begin in the beginning of that pay streak and follow the pay streak till it ended using a simple dowsing rod, man. I mean, I could take a twig off a tree and it'll have the same effect as this will right here. I mean, this is a professional rod. You've got wood, which is connected more with the earth, which is, I made these myself. I have a whole line of dowsing rods and pendulums I designed myself, and we were able to find lots of gold doing that, and we were able to dredge down and find the whole pay streak and accomplish that till it ended. You know, we didn't miss it. We didn't get in the middle of the pay streak and then miss all the gold behind it. You know, and so yeah, we were able to find lots of gold that way. Gems, we hit garnet deposits you wouldn't believe, and just all this red starts coming at you, and it's like, wow, thousands of garnets and all this, and so, you know, one of my fascinations is gemstones, and you know, I do mine in Nevada for black opal, fire opal, you know, garnets in a special place that are almandine garnets. Peridot in New Mexico. Peridot is formed in meteor craters. People don't even know that. A lot of meteor craters will have peridot formed in them, and I know where a lot of different meteor craters that we plan to venture to try to discover peridot. I have my own turquoise deposit mine in New Mexico where I mine on some claims there. And you know, we bring all the whatever stones I don't have, I can just import them from Brazil, and you know, we can cut all the stones we want for our own jewelry designs, and eventually our own art and jewelry gallery where we can have that set up. You know, I love digging up history, so I'm out there doing it, not only gold mining and hunting gems, but of course there's a lot of history that we would like to prove. And you know, these there were so many different cultures. I mean, you've got your possibly your Templar Knights, Phoenicians, the Magi, the Vikings, you know, the ancient Celts. There's so many different cultures were in this country, and they don't want to share a lot of this knowledge and with people. You know, we don't want to teach it in school. I mean, Lord forbid that they tell people the truth, you know, and what really happened. I mean, you know, Columbus never even really got to what we know as the United States. They give Columbus the credit because he was the first to really bring industrialization and real exploration to the New World, and was able to industrialize it in a way that you know, began everything as we know it today. But you know, that's great. I mean, Columbus was probably a great man in himself, but he was not the first guy here by any means.
And a lot of people say and speculate that you know, he was part of a line of Knights Templars and was following an older man.
Well, he was, you know, he was part of his family was royalty, and Columbus himself. You know, I'll give you further information on this down the line as well. He was related to Templars in his lineage, his family lineage, and they, you know, I believe that Columbus was searching for Ophir because he had a bunch of knowledge and maps and things that he was given, but not the information he needed that the Templars had. He was not privy to this information or knowledge because it may have been destroyed way before that. But I believe, as some others believe, that he possibly was searching for Ophir, and which was I believe, and others believe to be in New Mexico today. So yeah, Columbus just missed it by a mark, and if he had gotten to the Rio Grande, who knows? Who knows? Maybe have a whole different history, man. It's believed that the Templars found a great knowledge in Tyre, which today is modern-day Lebanon, and Phoenicia, where the Phoenicians lived. The Phoenicians were the greatest sea power of their time, they travel back and forth. It says in the Bible to Ophir, and they brought King Solomon tons of gold. And where'd they get all this gold? It's been the search of many adventurers.
And a lot of people think Africa. A lot of people think, nobody really thought here in the Americas.
Well, the thing is, you watch any real documentary on King Solomon's Mines, remember In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy and a bunch of others, they all will tell you in a segment of that, each one of those shows, that the Ophir or King Solomon's Mines could have been in the United States. You watch them, In Search Of about King Solomon's Mines. Leonard Nimoy mentions in the video, it says, it could also be in the United States. So who knows? I mean, that's one reason we need to keep an open mind, because it said they took 3 years to get to Ophir back to King Solomon, right? So they could have easily gone to New Mexico and back, and on the way back, they actually ended up in Africa, where they got the apes and the ivory, and they brought all that stuff with the gold to King Solomon.
That's a good point. I never thought about that. That's
exactly. And
that's a good point.
It's never been proven to have been in South America or Africa. Well, it could have been in South America in places. There are also Phoenician signs and symbols that were found in South America. Yeah. So the Templars were all over the place, and we'll never know fully all the places they went, after they were captured and killed, on Friday the 13th.
Talk about that, because, why, it's a proven fact the Knights Templar had amassed a huge amount of fortune, a huge amount of treasure, a huge amount of religious artifacts. And then when the King of France came after him and started catching,
he owed him money.
They owed the King of France a lot of money. They just funded his war.
Yeah, they did.
So what happened? What happened to all that treasure?
Well,
what happened?
Let me backtrack just a little bit, and I'll get to that. Okay. They had supposedly found Ophir. It's been known in history that they were gone for 5 years, and they took 25 ships with them. Nobody ever knew where they went. Okay. Now, a couple of my associates, Roger, and some other people are saying that they went to New Mexico. They went to Ophir. They left their signs and symbols there. They took that gold they found. They went back to Europe, and they formed the first banking system as we know of today. I mean, Templars invented the credit card, man. You'd be able to go and
that's a proven fact that the Knights Templars did invent the banking.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Where'd they get all that gold? Right? They got it from Ophir. They would have a credit card that you would go and you'd be able to turn in your gold, and they give you a piece of paper with a code on it. And when you traveled and ended up where you were, man, you turned in that paper and they gave you the gold back. And you turned in the gold in the beginning. You traveled without your gold, maybe enough to survive, but if you had a lot of gold or whatever, and you didn't want to get, killed and your gold taken, you could turn your gold in. They'd give you that piece of paper. When you ended up in your destination, you give it to the Templars there, and they would give you how much amount of gold you had, and that was it, and you were able to travel. They invented the first credit card.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were amazing people. Templars, after the Crusades and after they were persecuted, captured, and killed, a lot of the Templars ended up migrating to Scotland to fight in wars for the kings there. They were such great warriors. Anybody'd want to have them, imagine. It's believed some of them went back to the New World in what we know now as the United States, and intermingled with different Indian tribes, as well as different groups. And historically, they could have been all over the place. It's noted they were in South America. It's very possible with their ability as seafaring people and Templars themselves. Columbus's ships, the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, those are Templar ships. The big red crosses on the sails, those were Templar ships, man. And Columbus didn't have all the knowledge he needed, I believe, or he would have ended up in Ophir. And now Ophir, from what they're saying, is not only New Mexico, but Utah, Arizona, all the way up to California. And there were major cache sites where they cached all this gold and different knowledge and history. I've been privy to have discovered one of these sites, and I can't really talk about it, but one day I may. And I believe the site that I'm working is the key to the other locations that are in the Oregon Mountains, Victoria Peak in itself. The Templars did leave their marks in New Mexico, and I'm about to prove this and share this knowledge with the world. I can't wait to do that.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. On the side of Victoria Peak, there's a huge Templar cross that people don't even know about.
So, off camera, I'll have to talk to you about that. But
we will.
Back to Victoria Peak. Do you personally think there's anything still there? Or do you think it's all been got by the government?
I think it's gone, personally. If you really examine the story and the knowledge that's been shared by others, the Army probably come in and took everything. I know that gold was supposedly on, a bunch of it was on FDR's ranch, and for years he had his own private airstrip. From what I was told, that gold was used in CIA operations, but for many years in Vietnam, and who knows? I mean, it could have been used all over, but we weren't there, so all we have is what people have written down and have shared with us. But I do from the stories I've heard, I believe the Victoria Peak gold is gone. I did talk to a man a couple of years back that actually did an examination of Victoria Peak and with some technology around Victoria Peak, and they did dig up 3 gold bars. And that was a few years back from today. So there still may be a lot of gold cached around Victoria Peak. It was said that Doc Noss brought out 396 gold bars. No, he cached those all over the place, and there's some caches out there still possibly that gives people like you and me stuff to go out and find, and who knows, one day we might. But yeah, there is such a vast amount of treasure in the earth. There is over 3 times more money that's been lost, hidden, or buried than what's in circulation today. And I mean, in reality, to gold in itself, I mean, we've only mined about 6% and 7% of the world's gold. So that leaves what, 93% of the gold in the earth still available to find. Now, a lot of this gold, it's too deep to mine. It's microscopic, or it's deep in the ocean, or lost, hidden, or buried. But it still exists in some form or another. I mean, there's always a way to find it. And I learned a lot of these little secrets at a very young age, and kind of had a fascination with over the years of learning more, and learning all about gold mining and lost treasure, and became an expert in my field and a professional miner, many years later, and so now I've led some amazing adventures, Terry, and in my life I've been so fortunate, but my biggest adventures are happening right now. The biggest adventures of my life. I'm 54 years old. I've been mining gold, gems, and history since I was very young, and the most amazing adventures now, being able to prove a lot of this history and study it and document it. That's just an amazing time right now. So, and we're trying to share this knowledge with mankind, and hopefully one day, if you can rewrite history, that's a real blessing. If you can discover something, and that's what all archaeologists want to do. They want to find and prove history to be true and correct, and they want to rewrite history if they can. And that's my goal. So I'm currently studying for an archaeological degree, and hopefully I'll be able to achieve that. And there are more stories to come.
Frank, man, that's
yes,
awesome.
Sir.
That's cool, man. I can't wait to hear more about it. Thank you, and that's a wrap.